Yes.
Goodness.
Whew.
Woosah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Woosah, y'all. Woosah.
أعوذ
Oh
بالله من
boy.
الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
وسلم تسليما. Ya Allah, we ask that you, we want to open up in the name of you, and we want to ask that you facilitate an opening for us, an amazing dialogue. Allahumma ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa
Audience
alaikum
members
salam
who
wa
are coming in,
rahmatullahi wa
drop your
barakatuhu.
salams as you come in.
Yes.
I wanted to greet my amazing, amazing, phenomenal guest who's here with us today for our final Ramadan live called Five Before Five, addressing the temptations of singlehood and a whole lot more.
A
But
whole lot
welcome
more.
to my beloved, who's a shining light. I see her all the time in my Atlanta community, and she literally illuminates light from her body and from
So
her
beautiful.
spirit.
Thank you. Thank
Dear
you.
Sister Crystal Shahid, and we're going to properly introduce in a minute. Assalamu alaikum, love.
Wa alaikum salam, everybody. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And thank you. You are the shining light.
Oh,
You
mashallah.
are so everything. Every time I see you, it's like I must get in her orbit. I
Oh,
must do
mashallah.
something
No.
with whatever she's doing. I just need to get in her space. So I'm
Oh,
so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much, and thank you to your audience, and thank you for having me. Us.
thank you. Thank you so much for
Yes.
being here. And I want to just give a quick shout out, walaikum salam, to Inshira and Aisha and Namat, your sister. She said, my sis, she gave you a
Ladies.
shout out, Cherise. So, guys, what you can do to sort of like just kind of shine some light on here, what we're doing is share this podcast. Go ahead and do
Yes.
that now. Go ahead and share it, inshallah. But welcome to Five Before Five. I can't wait for this topic. Like I said, I have a phenomenal guest here with me today. I introduced her as Crystal Shahid, as an illuminating light in the community, but she's so much
So
more.
cute.
She is,
Mm.
mashallah, a playwright, a director, a producer. She's an artist of all sorts, and she is bringing to the Atlanta area a phenomenal work of art, a play called Five Before Five. And Crystal Shahid, mashallah, you are wearing a lot of hats, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. I am wearing a lot of hats and they fit so well. You know what I mean?
Allah is kind. Allah is
Allah
kind.
is so merciful, and He has just blessed me beyond anything that I could imagine. Um Even, sometimes you think where you were at this time last year and then where you are now. Even if you look back 6 months, from where you were 6 months ago and then where you are now, I only can, put my head to the ground and thank Allah at all times for all that He has blessed me with and given me and blessed me to see and envision and believe in and
Yeah.
hope for and so forth. I mean, we forget about those things, that there's a hope that, Allah instills in us, and there's vision that He instills in us. And we typically tend to think about material things or children or family or these things that are tangible, but wisdom and faith and hope and thought and those things that those are the things that I'm so beyond grateful for, especially during this month. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil
Alhamdulillah.
Alameen, for sure.
Alhamdulillah.
Hmm.
Well, I'm super happy to have you here. I'm super happy to have this conversation with you. I was introduced to Crystal's play, which we're gonna talk about this play throughout the conversation.
Sure,
It's going to
sure.
be layered. But we are talking about this concept of five before five, and I did want to start our conversation off with the hadith that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said
Sallallahu
that
alaihi wasallam.
take advantage of youth before old age, health before sickness, wealth before poverty, free time before busyness, and life before death. You named your play Five Before Five.
I
Crystal,
did.
what's
I
the
did.
inspiration? What really spoke to you as it relates to this powerful hadith, but from a religious
um
teacher?
So absolutely. So I initially I'm a writer, by nature and by gift. Alhamdulillah, I'm a writer, and I've have a lot of things that I've already kind of conceptualized, and we have in the vault and so forth. My father passed in October 2019, And I
Mhm.
think what happened was, may Allah, grant him the paradise and
I
forgive him his
mean,
sins.
I
Ameen.
mean,
Um, the most amazing day, I can tell you that. But he passed away in October 2019, and typically we hear this hadith being recited a
mhm.
lot at janaza prayers, right?
Mm.
But this time, at that time, it really resonated with me, and the time that we had together and the bond that my family has, my siblings, my parents,
Yeah.
um, the and the fact that at the janaza, and I didn't cry a lot in that process.
Okay.
And I think that I didn't cry a lot because I I had no regrets. I spent the time with my dad. He invested the time in me. We did work together. We worked, in his business, him being an entrepreneur. We worked together side by side, just he and I, years, year in, year out. He taught me so many things. I took advantage of so many things with him. And so for me, it was sad to know that his body was leaving
Yeah.
this realm, but in no way did I ever think that I was losing him. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
So
do.
so I began to think about this concept of taking advantage of these things
Mhm.
before these things leave us. And I thought, I already have these things for film and television, which I'm in love with. But I thought, let me try my hand at a play, right? Something a little bit on a smaller scale, and because typically when you're doing a play, it's really about your content and your dialogue, right?
Right. Right.
And so I thought, let me see how people will love this. Will love this writing and how they'll receive the writing and the thoughts that I have in my mind. And the two just merge together immediately. So I
Yeah.
start writing I believe in November of 2019, and I
Mhm.
finished in January of 2020. Well, the pandemic happened, of course, and I
Yeah.
couldn't put it on. But the biggest thing was that I had completed the script for this play,
Yeah.
and it was such a proud moment, And since then, I have an amazing cast, and so since then, what we've done is I've kind of allowed them to absorb the meaning of these taking advantage of five things before five things leave us, and allow them to kind of put their own dialogue and spin, and what they think they might say, and this and the other into this script, to bring it to life the way that it has come. So that was the
Beautiful.
inspiration for Five Before Five. Thank
Beautiful.
you, Dad.
And thank you for sharing that beloved story
Yes,
about your dad
yes,
and how,
yes, yes,
often,
yes.
mashallah, like it's interesting because, a lot of things that we sort of amplify here is how these trials and these experiences and these challenges, these things that do sort of cause us immense pain. It's also
Absolutely.
what Allah gives us to
Absolutely.
pivot us to
Mm,
improve and
mm,
change and ascend by
mm.
virtue of your father's life and even his ascension into another realm is what
Absolutely.
motivated you to create something from a beautiful hadith that inshallah will
Alhamdulillah Rabbil
impact
Alameen.
and inshallah improve the lives of so many of us who are, we struggling in these streets, girl. So
Girl, girl.
I wanted to get right into an issue. And I did a live on this because, this is an issue driven podcast. And I
Uh-huh.
did a
Mm-hmm.
live on this, which is like resistant temptations. And I remember when
Mm-hmm.
you were sharing a little bit of the plot of the play, you had mentioned,
Yes.
and I ain't doing no giveaways because I need people to go to the play, but you
For
did
sure, for
mention
sure.
this storyline as it relates to
Mm-hmm.
just the temptation. Somebody trying to be on Nadine, and there's some temptation there, and how do you navigate that? And so I kind
Whew.
of like prefaced some of this as far as resisting the temptations of singlehood. And so I wanted to talk just about this concept for a few minutes. We know that as Muslims, there's certain recommendations and things that we should be doing. And there's there's a lot of us who are single, a lot of
Oh
single
man.
Muslims who are navigating. You still with me, love? Are you still with me, Crystal? Uh-oh.
I
Crystal?
lost you, Sabria.
Okay. Are you with me now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you
You
hear
can hear
me?
me? I can't hear you for some strange reason. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Walaikum
Um,
salam.
I know
Salam.
that you were, the last thing I heard was that you were talking about temptations, but and navigating these temptations. Someone rang in and I've lost you. So let me try.
Try to take me off of the air. Can you hear me now?
I still cannot hear
Okay.
it. Bear with me, you
Come back
guys. I'm
out and
sorry.
come back in if you, I know she can't hear me. Okay. All right. And so as our beloved guest Crystal's kind of navigating our technology, which is absolutely okay. I did want to sort of kind of tap into the audience for a minute. And I want to know, like, what do you think at this current time is really plaguing the population of single Muslims right now? Like, what is really some of the issues that you think we're navigating? Like, we had a couple conversations. I've done a little bit of interviews with some of our younger folks, like 20s, college age teenagers, some of our youth, and we know this part of the hadith that says, "Take care of youth before old age." And they spoke a little bit about, like, they don't want to get married, like they're not for it, they don't want to be bothered with it because of the challenges that come with being married, right? And I think we have Crystal back. Hey, Crystal, you went back with me?
Hi. Okay, so I can hear you, and I am so disappointed because it sounds like a monster is.
So you can hear me,
It's
but it's
like,
gargly?
hi, Crystal. Um,
You gotta love technology. You gotta love technology. Um, okay. So I'm going to continue on with what I'm saying as she navigates, as far as these tech issues. And so they're saying, like, they don't really want to get married. And some of the issues that are facing them is this idea of, like, not really want to navigating, like, the social dynamics um, of a marital union and all the challenges that come with it. But there are real things, real temptations that are at the same time plaguing our youth. And that's sort of what we want to discuss. If we want to talk about one layer of the discussion, which is just like really the aversion to marriage these days, due to very real, valid reasons, right? There's a lot of things, unfortunately, like I said, maybe my generation and beyond, we it's been a struggle. We saw, like, in our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, this sort of like hone in or focus in on longevity, but we saw how unhealthy it was in many of these constructs, and we went to the extreme opposite, where it's like, okay, the minute something's wrong, we're out of there, right? And so the generation following behind us is like, this looks like a whole mess and we don't want any parts, right? And Ishra said, to say the least. Exactly. So, but at the same time, as they're having this dialogue about not wanting to be married, there's also the issue of dealing with the temptations and not really having, very real solutions of how they're navigating sort of taking care of the amana of their bodies, of their sexuality, which is a trust that we're given, like, as it relates to sort of these desires, these things that we're working on during Ramadan. It's a trust between us and Allah. Allah gives it to us with the responsibility of disciplining it and utilizing it in a halal means. And so these are conversations that our youth are finding challenging, right? Because they are told that it's haram, but they're not really given adequate solutions to sort of deal with the dichotomy of not wanting to be married due to what they're seeing as is a lack of success in that area versus managing their sexual desires. So really just being able to manage those temptations, and what we want to talk about here with our dear sister Crystal. And she's like, oh, mashallah. I hope that she's back and it's all okay. May Allah make it easy. Yeah, are you back?
Here I am. Oh my God, I can hear you guys.
SubhanAllah.
I'm so disappointed, but I'm trying to practice my sabr during this month. So I'm trying. It's a challenge. It's a
It's all
real
okay.
challenge.
You know
And
what?
I'm so sorry, you guys. I hope y'all are still there. I'm so sorry.
It's
Please
okay.
forgive me.
Girl, don't overthink it, child. This is
Oh,
the nature of this
goodness.
world. Happens all the time. I remember when I had
Jeez.
this really high stake my season finale of season 3. It was a really
Mm-hmm.
big show. I put all this marketing into it. I get on there and I don't have any audio the whole show. I just died. Like it was just ridiculous.
That's
So
how I'm feeling like, oh my God, I can't
it
believe this is
happened.
happening
It
to me.
happened.
I just can't believe it. But I'm
Okay,
here. I'm
so
back.
Crystal,
Thank
we
you.
got to get
Thank
right
you, my
back
darling.
into it. We got to get right back into it. So,
Temptations. Yes.
yes. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to ask you, and I started rambling on and talking because Crystal, I'm preparing a podcast
Yes.
for our opening of season 5. It's called Why I Don't Want to Get Married. And in this
Oh,
process of this
oh.
podcast, right, I
Mm,
talked to
mm-hmm.
several young Muslims, okay, raised Muslim child. They've been watching us in our,
Mm,
not, and they're like, y'all been
mm.
jacking
Close
up.
the door, close the door.
We don't want any parts of this, right? But
Wow.
at the same
Wow.
time, they're dealing with temptations every day, and their
Mm-hmm.
sexuality and
Mm-hmm.
sexual desires
Mm-hmm.
are very real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
brought this
Mm-hmm.
up very early in your play. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about sort of navigating singlehood, what it takes to really sort of navigate the jungle of singlehood these days? And just like, let's be real about it. Like it's tough out here nowadays.
So this is very interesting that you say that. So in the play, my male lead says, to his in-laws, he's like, it's hard out here for a pimp, right? So this is what
What
comes
does
to
that
my
mean?
mind. This is what comes to mind. Now, the funny thing is that we were in rehearsal the other day. He was saying, I don't think I want to say that line, right? And so
Mhm.
there was a debate
Yeah, because I
happening.
cringed when I heard it. Okay.
So amazing. Okay, so there's a debate happening. So within the cast members, so we're all talking about this, and he says, and so his daughter says, "Daddy, what's a pimp?" Right? So
Mhm.
he then says, "Oh gosh, baby, just strike that from the record, from your vocabulary. Daddy is just saying that it's hard for a man to meet a woman that he's really compatible with out here, especially a Muslim man, right?" And
Mhm.
she's 7 or whatever. But so the conversation is really in kind of what we're talking about right now, and minus the pimp word, right? So that's
Yeah.
just from the movie. But what what we're saying is that we are out here in these streets, right?
Right.
We did see hustle and flow just on that tip. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We do navigate out here. We meet people, men meet women, women meet men. I mean,
It's the
and
reality.
it's the reality. And especially when for us, and I would say for men too. For let me start with the men. When your average woman
Mm,
meets a Muslim man, right,
mm,
who has some sense, who is very conscious of
mm,
his deen, who is responsible with his family or with his own life. You
mm,
understand what I'm saying? He
mhm,
has his own business, or he has a really good job that he goes to this and the other. And then he has this, especially in our community where we have this Islam from the perspective of Imam W.D. Muhammad. That
mhm,
that
mhm,
in itself puts us, alhamdulillah,
mhm,
and I don't want to offend anybody, but in my mind, it
mhm,
puts us at another level, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so when you have a man like that, and you have women out here who, for a lack of a better word, are thirsty, and I'm not saying that in a bad, I'm saying that like Hagar was thirsty for the water, right? I'm saying it in that way. When
but this
you
is the
know
truth.
that you're longing for something that's better than what you're offered out there, then, and it's coming at our brothers from this side, this side, this side, this side, this side. That's a whole situation to navigate, right? So I'll put a pin right there. I'm gonna come
Right.
back on our side. When
Mm,
we have this beauty, this wisdom, this knowledge, this training, this understanding, we're taking care of ourselves. We are taking care of our bodies, our mental health. We're taking care of our families, our kids, and raising them. We're single. These There are men who see that, right? There are men who are not in this community, I'm saying, who see that and who long for something like that, right? That's two. I've got A and B, and
Jeez.
then we have C,
Mm,
where you've got, you know, women like me and my girlfriends,
okay.
who are in this B category, but
Okay.
then we also have men who are in this A category that we talked about. So now we've got Muslim men and we've got Muslim women who are, how can I put this best? Who are dating, right?
Oh.
We're dating one
Hmm.
another, right? And
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
just keeping I'm just keeping it real.
Come
You know what I'm saying?
on,
We're
because we
dating one
don't want to
another.
talk about it, but this is what's happening on my
Exactly.
life still.
Exactly. And
Yes.
when we date one another like that, because this is what we're used to in our A and B situation,
Mm.
when we bring that into our C situation and we start dating one another, then you can see why nobody wants to get married, right? It's like, why? Why should I get married? And then we date for X amount of time, in a month, two, three, a year, two, three, and then we far surpassed the spaces that we should not surpass. This is just real
Girl.
talk.
Can
And
we
then
just not? I don't
I'm
want
just
to. I know
saying.
you want to thin, but no, because honestly, Crystal, I haven't
Hmm.
heard it stated in that way before.
I'm just
The
saying.
A,
That's
B,
the truth
C.
of the matter.
Because
That's the
at the
truth of the
end of the
matter.
day, especially if we're addressing our community, the Black Muslim
Absolutely.
community, this is the
Absolutely.
reality of what we're navigating. And then if we want to put on this and Bismillah the mash and act like that's not happening, it's just not honest. And what it
That is
is that we
absolutely
really
correct.
need real solutions
Hmm.
to navigate this.
Hmm.
I just want to just acknowledge that what you said and
Absolutely.
how you categorize that, I haven't heard it that way. And I
Mm.
find that to be so authentically honest. And these are the raw conversations we need to have. So I appreciate you
Absolutely.
amplifying this
Absolutely. That's
in the
just
play.
correct. This is just, and so I think the one of the beautiful things about me is that, I strive in my dean as well, but I'm not perfect. I'm not going to pretend like I'm perfect. I'm not going to, tell somebody over here that I got it all together. You know what I'm saying? And brother, you don't have it together, or sister, you don't have it together. I'm going to say, I understand where you're coming from. This is what I try to do in my striving. So what I'm
That's right.
trying to
We're all
do,
striving. We're all
absolutely,
striving, sis. Yep.
absolutely. And so what I'm trying to do, I for a while, I spent a lot of time by myself. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
reflecting on so many years of being single, and what that means and what that's meant for me and my life and so forth. And so I did some reflection in that space. What I'm finding, coming out of that space, wanting to be a companion to somebody, wanting to share my love with someone, right?
Mm.
Wanting to give of so many things, especially for someone like me. And I'm not saying, this is just my experience
Yeah, of
as an
course.
older Muslim sister, where I've raised my kids already. So pretty much my life is about me, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And how I
yeah,
want to move and what I'm doing.
yeah.
But we've got younger Muslim sisters who are still raising kids and who are single and so forth, but who want to share that love with somebody too, and who want to be a wife, and who
Mm.
wants to be a lover and a friend and a companion. You really can't have those things legitimately with a friend or someone who's not your husband. You just
Yeah,
can't. You just
you
can't
can't.
have those things in a legit way. You know what I mean? And
Can
so
we
no
say that
matter how,
again? I'm sorry, but can we say that again? I'm sorry. I know I'm cutting you off, but you're saying something that's
absolutely.
just striking a nerve, especially when you
Hmm.
said we're not getting married. The truth is, we're not getting married because we're dating.
Correct. Correct. And
Because
we're
we're dating. It's not that we're sitting around single,
that's
sis. Like,
correct.
let's.
That's correct. Oh, believe it. Oh, we're not sitting around like that. Oh no. And then we're doing things under the cover, right? Because of course we don't want to display that. We don't want to put that on display for like, oh yeah, this is the way to be. No, we know this is not the way to be. It's just the reality of how things are. So we have an option here, which is what I find myself and some of my peers exercising. And again, this is hard. This is not for play. It's not for the weak and the weary. You know what I'm saying? And it's not for to say that you're going to be perfect. This is for men and women, right? It's not that. And it's not that we're not going to fall. And I want to put a pin there too. But we what I've done is I've said, okay, I want more, right? I
Mm,
want more for
mm,
myself. So I
yes.
have to start there. I start there in saying to myself, I want more, and how can I earn more, right? For myself. How can I earn more for myself? That means that I have to turn my attention to my Lord, right?
Yeah.
And I have to say, okay, there is a reason why I'm not getting what I'm looking for. There's a reason why, right? And I have to keep it real with myself, and I have to say, okay, when I'm alone in my room like LL Cool J, and I stare at the wall, I hear my conscience call, right?
Right.
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 So when I'm doing that, I have to say, okay, Crystal, like this is between you and Allah, and this is between me and Allah. What am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Expecting that something is going to change
Right.
from brother to
Definition of
brother to
insanity.
brother.
Definition of insanity.
Exactly,
Doing the same thing,
exactly.
expecting a different
Thinking
result.
and see what we trick ourselves into doing is thinking that, oh, this brother is different from that brother, or this me is different than that me, or
Right.
oh
Oh
yeah,
my
this brother
gosh.
is different.
Yeah.
But it's the
Got that.
same
Got that.
behavior, right? It's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
behavior, which is the pattern. And so that is what we have to try and break if we want more. Now that's for the people like me who want more. These are the patterns that we're trying to break, and believe and
Mm,
trusting that if we just hold on,
mm,
Allah says that his promise is true and
yeah.
his word overrides everything else. So then
Come on.
that means that we have to hear him more, which means
Yeah.
we have to read more, right? We
Yeah.
have to read more Quran. We have to ingest more Quran. And it's not just a scripture. It becomes something that becomes a part of you when you can quote and you can talk and you can reflect on what the issues are, right? And it's important not to hold yourself to, woe is me, right? Like, okay, I've done this for my whole time. I'm never gonna, get better at this. I'm never gonna, and the opposite, for brothers to not, or to not, for us to not allow ourselves to be in a space with brothers who say, oh, you've been doing this, or you've been doing that. So girl, I mean, I
I
got
want to
stories,
interject
boo.
if it's okay,
Please,
Crystal. I want
please
to.
do.
Yeah. No. 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 But you got me on a whole. This is a whole thing right
Oh my
now.
goodness.
May Allah bless you. So, Sister Anissa said,
Amen.
on the other side, many of us are exhausted from the past marriages or relationships, right? And that's also very real. But I wanted you. It's something that you said that I think isn't amplified enough
Mm-hmm.
because we're in a gosh, I don't want to call out any, I might get in trouble for this, but I don't want to call out any dating site. We're in a Muslim dating site. I was going to mention a particular one, but we're in
Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
Muslim dating app era
Mm-hmm.
where, there's like the swipe left. I'm talking to like 21 people at the same time. And, and then we're in a gray area where it's like,
Mm.
especially I talk to a lot of women who are navigating because they want to find partnership, but it's like your energy is here, there, there, there. When I became
Mm.
single, people was like, date them
Mm.
all, sis, court them all, sis. And what I found is that I just found that went against my natural fitra as a
Mm.
woman. That
Mm-hmm.
went against
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
natural femininity, that natural balance that I have. I can't give myself out like that to a plethora of different, masculine energies, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
want to
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about the short change. And you said I want more. So I'm
Right.
taking that to mean the other way, I'm shortchanging myself. I'm really
Correct.
shortchanging myself. Can
Correct.
you kind of
Correct.
emphasize that again? Because I think sometimes
Yeah.
as women, maybe we don't get it. Maybe even brothers. I mean,
Absolutely.
not the-
Absolutely. So and your point, I hear what you're saying about you. And that just wasn't your thing, a plethora of men, date this one, date this one, date this one, right? And we're talking about spreading our energy out there,
Mm.
right? And
And
so
receiving.
I'm familiar with this, right? Because there are some amazing there are some amazing Muslim brothers out here, right?
Mm,
And
for sure.
and again, this is part C, right? We went to A to
Mhm.
B to C,
Yep.
and so we can see these brothers, right? We see them with our eyes, and then we have a conversation, and then two, and then three, and then oh, hold up, and then somebody may say, "Oh, Crystal, I want to introduce you to such and such person, but I still have this. I like it, right? I like this. I like where this is going, but maybe something over here is really not
Too much.
necessarily what maybe this one is not talking marriage. Let's go. I'm just gonna put it out there. This one may not be talking marriage, right? This one might just be fishing, as what we call it, right? This one is fishing. And so then you may say, okay, well, maybe I should try this, and then here comes someone from the past, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, because and sisters know, single sisters know, when it kind of falls like that in seasons,
We
right? It's
do.
like it seems like everybody want to know what's going on with Crystal. I'm just saying, what's going on with Sabria, you know what I'm saying? All the people want to know that. And so then you find yourself liking the attention, right? You want the attention because you don't have this one main person who is saying, this is the direction that we're going. This is what I want from you. This is what I'm willing to put into this, blah, 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 blah. You don't have that, right? So here's the other thing too, about this fishing thing. Someone came and I lost my train of thought. It was super important though. But anyway, so that's where we kind of find ourselves in terms of um, how the energy gets spread around in the ways that it does, right? The the challenge here is, when we say that we want to get married, or if we say that we want to get married, is that really what we want? Right? Do
Mm.
we really want to be married? Do we really want to be committed to somebody for the duration? Are we looking at marriage like, oh, this is a test, this is a test for this month or this week or this year or whatever, right? Are we looking at it in that way? Are we looking at it like, just do it? Because I know that there are, sisters who say they want to withhold themselves from fornicating, right? And so we
Protect
get
themselves.
married, or brothers. This is not a one-sided thing. So they get married, and then you you achieve your goal, and then now it's not going to work out for you. Oh, you don't like this about the person, or you don't like this, or you don't like that, you know what I mean? And so now we want to get a divorce, so we're going to get a divorce, and then you're divorced two, three, four times. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying? And then it becomes, okay, well, do I really want to be do I really want to be married? And then to the sister Anissa, who was saying, being exhausted with going through this and this and this and this and this. I totally get it. But you know what? I heard something this morning, and I am one of those who would be exhausted, right? Of going through all of these things and never really getting to a point to where something is real and it's going to be stable and it's going to manifest into something beautiful, right? I am one who could be exhausted with that. But I was listening this morning to Sheikh Omar Suleiman, in his Ramadan 2022 session, and they were talking about um, how uh, Moses had so many challenges, right? So many challenges that he went through, and Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam as well. But they were saying, the young lady who was a therapist was saying that it's so important to understand that basically Allah has not forsaken us, that
Yeah.
we can always be forgiven, our situation can always be changed. We are not victims of our fate or destiny. We are only victims of our own actions, right? The
Absolutely.
choices that we make, right? So this is the
Absolutely.
cause and effect.
Yeah.
And so when we begin to rely on Allah, right,
Tawakkul.
for and to understand that that is where our sustenance is going to come from, that's where
Yes.
our protection is going to come from, that's where
Yes.
our mercy is going to come from, that's where the beauty is going to come from, that's where everything good is going to come from. And when we start to really embody that and put that in ourselves and know that this, okay, Allah, I know you got me. I know, I know what I did here. He has taught us how to repent. He has taught us how to move forward. And I, for me, at this point, I know there is an exhaustion for some sisters, but for me, at this point, I feel like the horizon is wide open. Like I'm never going to be pinned in or boxed into something that I used to do or a version of myself that I used to be. I'm
Absolutely.
constantly growing,
Absolutely.
constantly wanting more, and wanting to please my Lord more. This is where this is coming from, right? And so when we want to do that, things begin to change behind that. So then it
Absolutely.
becomes you don't want to talk about marriage, or you just want to kick it, you want to kick it. I'm good on that.
Right.
Or
Right.
we not you oh let me take you here, let me take it. I'm good on that, brother. I mean, you cute, you know what I'm saying, but
Right.
I'm straight, you know what I mean, because
Right.
then we
Right.
know we've been relying on Allah, and it's been building us and building us and building us and building us, you know what I'm saying, so that when these tests come, even if we slip, right, even if
Mm.
we slip on something,
Mm.
still we built up this kind of resilience so that we're not going to fall back down to where we were before. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So
I
I
do. I
that's
do.
just kind of my take
SubhanAllah,
on
Crystal.
how
I
that
mean,
goes.
and it's interesting. I want to say this because when I kind of get people on my show, I don't often always know the full backstory. I do
Mhm,
know that
mhm,
there is something that I want to amplify, but I
mhm.
don't often know if there is complete alignment with like the message of Dope Muslim Woman. But Allah
Certainly,
is very
certainly.
merciful because He often always brings people here that have
Alhamdulillah.
the alignment. And really, what you said
Alhamdulillah.
sums up the definition of the season 5, which is the ascension. This idea,
Mm,
like we can see
mm.
it through the stories of our beloved messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam
Absolutely.
and the people amongst them.
Absolutely.
Marriage, divorce, death, jihad, all
Mm,
subhanallah. What was the means? What was the goals? It was Allah. It didn't matter the challenges,
absolutely.
the triumphs. You got back up because your goal is
Absolutely.
Allah. Like until you reach
Absolutely.
Him, you keep going. You get back
You
up and you do
keep
it again.
going.
So
You keep
ultimately,
going.
there's no exhaustion until we reach Him, really, because
That's what it is.
He's the one that fortifies us. He's the one that fills us up. So even if we've been punched in the gut through this thing called marriage, like many of us have been, you know what?
Hmm.
My faith and my trust is in Him. So I get right back up and I
Absolutely.
put my faith
Absolutely.
there. That's where my heart is.
Absolutely.
But
That's
because with
absolutely
Crystal,
correct.
this is the thing. When we talk about
Hmm.
temptations of singlehood,
Hmm.
what's
Hmm.
keeping a lot of our single people stuck. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna get married, okay?
Hmm.
Instead, I'm gonna
Hmm.
do this date thing on the low. I'm gonna appear, like all together. I'm in my college, I'm doing whatever or whatever I'm doing, right? What is these ideals? It's fear. It's like I got to make sure if I do get married, it gotta be right. So that it can
Hmm.
be socially
Hmm.
acceptable. I can't
Right.
fail.
Right.
But that's not what
That's so interesting too, because I get that. I fully get that. And I can think of some of my beautiful little nieces, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not just speaking figuratively, who um who may feel that way, you know what I'm saying? And who are kind of disconnected from
right.
our community. They're in school, or they're away working, or they're traveling, or they're whatever, you know what I'm saying? And marriage is not, again, a concept that we're talking about in the play. What one of my ladies, without giving everything away, she says, I refuse to be around here in 2022 saying that I need a husband, having people looking
Mhm.
at me certain type of way, right? Because our society has kind of told us that we are one in the same, men and women, right? So you go get it, you go do your career, you go put your family on hold, right?
Right.
You go get your career, you go get your money, you go boss yourself up, you do all this, that, and the other, and forget about a husband right now, right? You got to go for yours, right? So this girl power and this, this girl magic has been kind of taken
It has been. It has
and
been.
stretched to a level
We went
that
to an
it's
extreme. It's an
to an
extreme,
extreme,
sis.
to
We're
an
at an
extreme,
extreme.
to an
Like I said,
extreme.
the
And
self-love
so,
movement
yeah,
is the self-love movement. There's, although it's been a lot of pros and it's been beautiful, there's been some extremes,
absolutely, that's
We got to come
absolutely
back to the middle,
correct.
sis.
We've got to come back to the middle, like India said, for sure, to get to the top. And basically, that's that ascension that she's talking about. We have to come back to the middle. We have to understand that what we have to begin to understand what our roles are and how our role as women and the nurturers and the caretakers in this world, the way that Allah created it, there's a role for us the way that
Mm-hmm.
Allah created us to be. It doesn't mean that we can't be educated. It doesn't mean that we can't be financially stable and that we
Right.
can't get money. It doesn't mean that. It means, though, that our primary role, right, that He created us for is something that we've gotten so far away from. And because of that, that's where all the fitna comes in. And everything is like, how the lotto balls, they blow up and the balls are
Mm-hmm.
just rolling out
Mm-hmm.
and flying all
Mm-hmm.
around. That's what it's like because we're not settled into what our roles are and understanding what that is. So we're out here trying to do what society tells us that Black girl magic is, right? And girl empowerment. And I'm not even speaking on the brothers. I'm just talking about even for me. This is just one part of it, but we're out here trying to do that. And then of course we have wants and desires and so forth, but we're not grounded in this fear of displeasing our Lord. So we're running the whole thing out in this space, right? And then you
Yeah.
got some of us who it may not necessarily be girl magic, Black girl magic, or this or that. This just may be the role that we find ourselves in, being the man and the woman, right?
Yeah.
The provider, the protector, the nurturer, all of these things, because we are raising children and young men and young ladies and this and the other. We have to be everything for them. So we become these things, and our tolerance level is so much lower than it maybe used to be. You know what I'm saying? Because we are doing so much. And again, it's because the roles and the lines are now blurred. So we've got a
Right.
plethora of reasons, why,
And, and Crystal,
but one answer as to how to get back to it. You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
For sure.
But
Thank you so much, Crystal. I wanted to say a comment from Naima. And I know we're going to hone this conversation. I mean, it's such a good conversation. I mean,
yeah,
mashallah, we could build a whole
yeah,
podcast over it. And I want to make sure we really understand this play and we make an all call for that.
certainly,
But I
certainly.
want you to hear Naima's comment. She
Yes,
said, in our community, so much emphasis is placed on being married that we enter marriage half-baked. I would love to see emphasis on how to be single and whole. And so this is interesting, but I wanted to just say this before I don't let you comment. But our wholeness does not has nothing to do with our status. I would say that our wholeness is about our connection and our relationship with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, whether you are married or single, because Allah created you whole. Allah already created you whole. It's just about you reconnecting to that if you've been disconnected. But that's my little chime. But I want you, dear beloved, to kind of chime in on that. And if you could, your camera's kind of moving upward. Yeah, Crystal, if you could bring it back down. Don't tell me I lost her again. Poor thing. Miss Keen. Crystal? MashaAllah. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple more comments. She said, how
I
does she
don't
feel?
know if you can hear me, Sabria, but I lost you again.
I can hear you. Hello, 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 hello.
So can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to just respond to. kind of, I think what you said, and you can just nod if this is what you're talking about. There was a question about how do we, it's a lot of emphasis put on marriage and in our community, and when we could be, or I don't know if she said could or should or maybe possibly, should focus on how to be single and whole because we're going into marriages basically half cocked. Is that okay? So I am no expert by far. I don't profess to be any of that. I'm just a Muslim sister who was married for 10 years. I married my high school sweetheart, and we stayed married for 10 years, and then we divorced, and I never got remarried. And that's when I was 29. I am in the downside of my 40s. So I've been single, or shall I say, unmarried
Yeah.
since then. So I just want to make that distinction there. Um, and I think that marriage marriage breeds families, which breed communities, which breed townships, and then states, and then so forth, right? And this is how Allah says that we are to populate the world, and this is how we continue to promote Islam and community life and so forth, right? So this is what I mean when we go back to our natural roles, right? Being single and whole, I
Mm-hmm.
whole in terms of not being, being mentally balanced. Yes, we should be mentally balanced as individuals, um, single or not, right? So, and that's when I think of whole, that's my kind of my definition of what that means. But I can tell you from my perspective, being single all this time, there is an incompletion in my life. If that's just the truth of the matter, right? I am
True.
incomplete in my life being a single woman. I mean, I'm whole. Mentally, I'm here.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I am here. I feel like I'm balanced in these ways. But when it comes to the challenges for me with my faith, right? And holding on to my dean, I think that is extremely hard to do as a single person, a single woman,
Keep it real.
and for that matter. And I while yes, I do promote a healthy and emotionally balanced lifestyle and mental capacity and those things, absolutely no question about it, because I don't think that you're able to give your all if you do get into a marriage if you are mentally unstable, right? So
Mm-hmm.
being whole as a human being, yes, but fulfilling your natural role. And
Yeah.
I promise y'all, I'm telling you, it's not there. I'm smart, I'm wise, I'm funny, I'm fun, I'm all of these great things. I study my religion, I do all these, but not being married and not having that other part to balance me right now. I have no checks and balances on myself except for what I put in order with my Lord. I move around as I please. I go where I want to. I travel where I want to. I work where I want to. I can up and go out of town and stay for 6 months if I want to. There's no accountability in that way, for me while I'm single. You know what I'm saying? I'm still Muslim, right? I'm still going to make my salats. I'm still going to fast. I'm still going to make my intentions to make Hajj. All of those things I'm still going to do. But there is a huge part missing to where my life is not just about me and what it's about, the choices that I'm making that will benefit my community at large. And so when I'm thinking about being by myself, that's and I look at my sisters and I see them by themselves, there's something wrong with that picture. And I don't want them to, I personally don't want them to focus on how amazing they are as single women. I just, whole, yes, mentally stable, yes, but how we're just, above average as single women. I just disagree with that. That's my own personal opinion from a, you know, a woman who's been single for a very long time.
Okay. I don't think Crystal can hear me, unfortunately, but I am gonna chime in. Mashallah, this is why Crystal's here, and this is why she's a phenomenal person to write this play called Five Before Five. She's gonna try to come back in, because what she said is powerful. Right now, remember, our wholeness, our worth, our completion, that's from Allah. Like, there's nothing else that can define your wholeness as a human being, as a single unit, right? And so, kind of, I think what's kind of jacked us up, and I'm not going to lie to you, I've had the same mentality. You know, I got married really young, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to find myself. I don't, I just know my role as a wife, and so I got to be single to go be whole, right? And it's really one of those very real tricks of the devil. I'm going to be honest with you, because in the sense of, like I said, that comes with your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there should be no barriers between you and Allah, and your role and your status has nothing to do with the fact that Allah made you whole. Crystal, I'm just aligning, I'm kind of co-signing what you said. But there is a reality in how Allah created us, even as He created us as the feminine, in our feminine essence. If I am to sit really in my feminine energy, you know what keeps me balanced? You know what keeps me in this space? If I have the polarity of the masculine. If I have the polarity of the masculine, I can stay in this feminine space. Allah designed me. But in the absence of that masculinity, what am I going to do? I'm going to stray a little bit over to the side. So in a sense, there's no real balance in the absence of that yin yang, in the absence of the feminine and the masculine. And that's the reality as Allah designed us. That's why He could have just made Adam and let Adam rock on the earth for a minute. But He created Adam and He created Eve. And that's just the reality that we need to sit with. And I know we've been through some stuff. This is just me on my little tangent, and I'm bringing you back, Crystal. I know we've been through some stuff in our marriages. Real talk, we have been. But the reality and how Allah designed us, don't deny how Allah created you at your natural essence. Because if you want to know what creates brokenness, it is denying your true essence and your true self. Don't deny how Allah designed you. You are natural, feminine, and you are women who are created with this natural feminine essence, and how you stay there is with the balance of the masculine. That's my tangent. Crystal, mashallah, Allah is very merciful to bring you in my life and bring you on this platform, because I feel like, mashallah, you spoke life. We need to end this, but I want to end with the play. I need to know, give us a quick run through, give us 5 central pieces or takeaways why we really need to come see this play, okay? And then we'll get information of how we go about doing that. But why we need to see this play, what would be the takeaways for the believer, for the Muslim, for the one that's struggling, for the one that's confused of how to make it all make sense? What is that, Crystal?
Absolutely. So the first reason that I want you guys to come and see this play is because this is our African American Muslim voice told in our own voice, our own experience told by us, right? So I know oftentimes we are put in a box, right? We're put in a box, and this is how African American Muslims are, if we even have that representation, right? But this is how you guys are. It's either we are in the nation or whatever. There are so many different facets to us, so many beautiful, amazing facets to who we are as African American Muslims, that it's a beautiful thing that you all have trusted us to be a voice for our community. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that we're honoring that, right? We're honoring your trust in us, and our ability to put that forward. And that it's on our own facility. It's at the Sharif Abdul Rahim venue. I am a graduate of the first graduating class of Muhammad Schools, and I do not take that lightly, right? I have a responsibility to my community and what was put and invested in me. And so I want to do everything that I can to give back to that. So that's the second part. So if you are a part of this community, this is an amazing opportunity for you to give back, because we are partnering with Muhammad Schools as well. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is that we're talking about real stuff, right? We're talking about things that really matter to us, this African American Muslim experience, from the brother's perspective and the sister's perspective. We're talking about blended families. We're talking about
Mm,
life after death, right? In terms of what
mm,
happens when you lose a loved one, someone super duper close to you, how you navigate that, how you continue to go forward, how your faith wanes, right? It ebbs and it
yeah.
flows. And this is real, these real things that really matter. We're talking about therapy in the African
Mhm.
American Muslim community. Is something that we tend to shy away from, you know what I mean? And thinking that, oh, we're good with our own interpretation of Quran, and Sunnah when we don't read Arabic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
about, and then we're talking about this idea again, like what we were talking about, needing a woman. I'm on my podcast. Needing a husband, right? Versus needing a man, and saying that or admitting that. So these are women who are bossed up and having this conversation. And then finally, how things all manifest all of a
Mhm.
sudden. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
Allah is the best of planners, and showing that and showing how we can think one thing, we can plan one thing, and we can Allah is the best of planners. And so those are the reasons why, you guys, hear me. You should totally come see this play. It's going to be amazing, and inshallah, you
Uh-oh.
will love it as much as I do.
Okay, great. Now, really quickly, the play will be launching on May 7th. Is it 17th? What is it? What's the date?
I lost you again, Sabria. I mean, I lost my audio, but
Okay.
I
The
don't
play,
know. I don't know. I think you might be asking me when and where. Are you asking me about the details of the play? I just guessed that. You're such a great host. I am May 6th and 7th, Mother's Day weekend, 2022, Sharif Abdul Rahim venue. You can go online to www.5, the number 5, before 5, theplay.com. There are sponsorship opportunities. Get your tickets because they're sold by the seat, and the seats are numbered. So once those seats are gone, those seats are gone. So we also have family packages available. Go onto the website. We are thrilled to have you guys. I'm so grateful, Allah knows, to be a part of Dope Muslimas. I hope that we can do more podcasts together and more things together. Absolutely. I love you,
I
Mamacita.
love you.
Thank
I
you
love you.
so much for, and
Thank
any questions, again, you guys, you can email 5before5 theplay@gmail.com. Or you can hit Sabria and she can give you my information. Again, I can't hear you guys, but I love you so much. Thank you so much for everything. I totally appreciate you guys. Mwah.
I love you, Crystal. Thank you so much. Again, at the bottom of my screen, 5 before 5, May 6th and 7th in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Sharif Gymnasium, Muhammad Schools. 5 before 5, theplay.com. Get your tickets now before they sell out. Thank you so much for being a part of this dialogue. Thank you so much for trusting us with this conversation. I want to really applaud Crystal. Like I said, I learned about her play, I learned about her story, and I think she's a person who just literally illuminates light in the community. When I see her, I see light. So, but I didn't really fully know her perspective or her story or anything like that. But I am so blessed and grateful, and I understand why Allah manifests and makes things happen the way they do, because Allah doesn't send anyone in this platform unless there is some sort of spiritual enlightenment and an alignment that can come from it. Thank you. This is a layered conversation, and I know it's a difficult one, audience. I want you to trust the ascension. I want you to trust the Adult Muslim Woman podcast as we navigate these really complex conversations. We are going to, inshallah, propose solutions for this plight that we're facing, because we are in a very serious era right now as it relates to the single epidemic, and as it relates to the onslaught against our marriages, and as it relates to the onslaught against our sense of self, and even our relationship with the Most High. We are losing ourselves within our relationships with others, and the Dope Muslim Woman podcast is aiming to bring us back into alignment, first and foremost with our connections and our relationship with Allah, then our connection and relationship with ourselves, and then ultimately our relationships with other people. They all are connected, and they're all our responsibility for us. I love you radically. Thank you very much for being a part of us this Ramadan. Inshallah, we will be, the Dope Muslim Woman will be in Philadelphia this Saturday, bringing it live, bringing it energy. It is
How about
sold
I?
out.
How about, Sabria? I can't even hear what you're saying, but
No, but I'm
I
talking.
love what you're saying.
We are completely sold out in Philly. It is going to be another banger, inshallah. I'm getting right off of here to talk with my panelists and talk to my team. If you are in a tri-state, well, you're sold out. It doesn't even matter. But inshallah ta'ala, I love you guys radically. We'll be back with season 5 around May 11th. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Crystal. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.